So I was recently thinking about the time when I lost my virginity just over 10 years ago. And what sparked that was I had watched this brief episode from a couple on YouTube who were virgins at the time that they married, and they lost their virginity to one another on their honeymoon. And so they were discussing about all these assumptions about losing one's virginity, and from the woman's perspective that she would be in excruciating pain. And the husband, he was saying, well, no, I could not allow her to be in excruciating pain because that's the woman I love. And I found that so endearing and sweet, because that was not my experience when I lost my virginity to the guy that I was just talking to for a couple of months, and he was not my husband, and there was just a bunch of lust there between us. And as he expressed himself after that first time occurred, that he was not in love with me. He loved me but was not in love with me. And I remember feeling not only this excruciating pain between my legs after the sexual act was done, because he was not gentle with me at all, but I remember feeling that painful stab within my heart, in the figurative sense, obviously, because I thought, oh my goodness, I've done this big thing. And at that time I was 27. I had waited 27 years of my life until that point to lose my virginity, and the intention was to wait until I was married, but I did not do that. That was just one of those more difficult lessons about saving myself for the right person, which I did not choose to do. Also, this guy was an older guy. He had a lot more sexual experience than I did, and had been with other women in the past. And so I was going through it at that particular time. I even had to go to therapy back in the day due to trauma behind losing my virginity. That was a choice that I made. By the way, I'm not saying that it was the guy's fault that I lost my virginity, but there was trauma behind that, because there was so much remorse, and me wishing that I had taken myself more seriously and my value more seriously, which is why today I'm a proponent of encouraging women to pay more attention when they're out here in this world and they're dating and people are showing interest, especially when men come off and give those compliments about one's looks. It's nice. It's a wonderful feeling, especially if you're not used to getting compliments. But please be warned that it is not the way to go for your life, to use that as a way to measure your value, because your value is so much more than your looks. That time of life was a time that I knew I needed to go and receive help, and that was the beginning of me starting to see my value, and I was grateful for that opportunity. And it has been a journey over time. And if you've watched any of my previous videos, I've talked about having been in a 3-year marriage that grew increasingly toxic over time, until I was at a point of contemplating ending my life, and I ultimately ended the marriage, so I would not take that option of ending my life. But this is just something I wanted to bring out, this topic, this story of some of the different men that I had encountered over time and dated, and how it reflected my mental state of thinking that I was not really of value, and I was not really worthy of anything good, and that the guys that I was encountering at the time that I was encountering them were the best thing that would happen to me. So I'm going to be linking a link in my description, so you can sign up for a call with me if you want to talk out your own situation. But in the meantime, this is part 1, and I will come back to you with part 2 very soon. But in the meantime, feel free to book a call, and I look forward to our chat. Bye-bye.